go back to the year 1989. I'm being born. Okay.
All right.
You're 6 years old.
Yes,
Communist regime crumbles. Take me back to Bosnia. What is it like? What kind of memories stick out in your minds? I always think it's interesting to go back to the very beginning with fighters because so many things in the mind are formative, right? From when we're really little kids. What was it like being there?
Well, when you're there at the time, it's a normality. You know what I mean? So you don't really see any difference until you move out, and then you start reflecting back, and then you start really seeing how bad it really is. But I mean, you know, as kids, it was rough. The funny part is we had no toys, right? We had nothing. So what we collected as kids was bullets, and then if there's ever artillery and bombs will be falling and they're shooting the airplanes down, and then as kids, 2 days later you try to get those big shells and you trade it in for smaller bullets, and then AK-47s, they had the ones that shoot at night, like yellow color, red color.
Yeah.
So if you see soldiers, you're like, hey, come on, give me the colored ones because they're worth more and stuff like that. So that's what kind of we played as kids. And then you had your box that you carried your bullets and you walked around the neighborhood proudly. You know, that was your toys.
What are you like? So when that's happening, when you're collecting bullet shell casings to trade on the playground, so to speak, right, with other kids, are you registering that? Like, what do you even see it that way at that time?
I wouldn't see it that way because that was the fun time, right? You know, when you're in bomb shelter for like 12 hours to 14 hours, when the grenades are falling and you know, and your parents are hugging and the whole building is shaking and stuff. And those are the scary moments, right? And then after that, I don't know, it just becomes the norm. You go outside and there's a couple of days of peace. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you just, while it's only light and you go outside and you play with the kids, but don't go too far off. There's still snipers. There's still, you know, people, and it's lawless, right? People walk around with guns and AK-47s. Everybody has it, right? So
that lawlessness has always, I mean, I didn't serve in a war. I've been to war-torn countries, but I've never been around it when it's actually happening. It's always surprised me that how that becomes just the way it is. And you walk out and that's life that day. And for so many people around the world and over history, that's the case. It's much more that has been the case for people than growing up in Vancouver or growing up in California, where, you know, I'm complaining about people not using their turn signal or something stupid like that.
Yeah. You know what it comes down to when the norm comes in, right? We're not happy. We're not sad. Life is just heavier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that? It's like when that's normal, it's like that's the normality. And you find happiness and sadness in every level of poverty, right? Mm-hmm. It's just the more poverty and harsher it is, life is just heavier. You feel like you just carry on a lot more weight. And for some people it slows them down, and some people makes them stronger, right? And that's life. How you carry that weight throughout life dictates how you get out of there.
What is the family unit like in those times? How does that feeling of family change or function? Because in essence, that's all you have, right? Everything's blowing up around you.
It's our dad was a lot in war. Like he was in the front lines, so he'd get 3, 4, 5 days in the front lines. He would come back, and then we had no food, and then he would get 2 cans of fish per shift. So he would eat one, and he would bring the other one home. And then before the war, my dad was like over like 200 plus pounds. After the war, he was like 145, 150. Jeez. Right? And then our mom took care of us a lot, right? And then every time my dad would come in, my mom would know how to use a gun in case, you know, somebody comes in late at night, does some harm. And she was a strong one. You know, late at nights when bombings were happening and stuff, our mom was the one that took care of us, and our dad was out there in the front lines. And every couple of days, a list of dead soldiers would arrive, and then we would go there and stuff like that. I remember once, like a bunch of people got killed, and we thought our dad made the list, and we went out there and then accidentally walked into the room, and there was like 37 massacred people, and I walked in, and as a 6-year-old, I still remember that vision and stuff, and that stuck out for me and stuff, but luckily he wasn't one of them. And it's just, that's life. But I won a life lottery, man. I tell everybody, there's 4 million people in Vancouver, 8 billion in the world. If you do the odds, that's a life lottery.
How did you end up in Vancouver? What was the that
Nothing.
process.
We applied in every single country known to Germany,
Yeah.
Switzerland, Australia, Canada, America, everywhere. And Canada was the first one to answer.